Look, there's no fancy intro today. These things suck, and we're going to talk about it. I hate SPs. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know this. Every time I work on these things, I have to mention how much they drive me crazy. And every time I work on one, I get crazier. I need therapy. These things are just... so many things wrong with them. This is a clearly broken SP. I have like a tier list of what annoys me the most and what annoys me the least from the SP. So we'll go in order of least annoying to most annoying. It'll make sense as we go along. But before we even tear it down, let's just go over this because it doesn't need to be in one piece. This thing is small, and that could be a benefit. It is a benefit to some people. But to me, it is so uncomfortable. And since most of my pants have large pockets, I don't need a compact Game Boy. So I really don't need this to be small. But you think this is really bad condition, right? It turns on. The screen obviously doesn't work, but I don't know if it reads games. We'll figure that out in a second. Since I mod these things, I work on these things all the time, my next complaint is there's so many freaking screws in this thing. It's actually pretty clean on the inside. But just to get to the motherboard here, it took me 6 screws, 7 if you count the battery door, and I just changed my screwdriver for the 3rd time. And that wasn't even plugged in. No shot that works, right? This cable is so mangled. No way. Oh my god. How? This cable is destroyed. That's incredible. Nintendo's out here making quality products. But that took me 9... We'll just count the battery door as a screw, because you do have to unscrew it. That's 10 screws just to get to this part. 10 screws. That's a lot. But guess what? We got 5 more here. No, that's 11 screws. I forgot about this one. The one that holds this piece in. Because under these rubber pads, there's 5 more screws. That's 16 screws on this freaking thing. There we go. It's a ridiculously mangled wire, but it still works. That's crazy. So I guess we will reuse this. I didn't plan on it, but if it works, it works. We can't reuse most of this plastic, so we won't. Now, the original DMG has like 20 or something like that. It has more than this. But when I'm working on the normal GBA and the Game Boy Color, those only have like 9 screws to them. The screw count is not something I can change unless I go LTT on it and don't put all the screws in. But it's really annoying. And the reason why I have to do all of them is because I reuse the hinges. Because you need these because the companies that make the IPS shells and stuff, they don't include hinges. So I have to tear it completely down or buy them separately. And until now, it didn't make any financial sense for me to buy new hinges. So every time I'm tearing them down and reusing the hinges. So it just adds to me getting annoyed with these things. And it's not just annoying to get to the hinges, it's annoying to get them out. You have to push these little tabs inward, and then you have to push the center of the hinge through so you can actually get the hinge out like that. If you're wondering, here's the shell we're going to replace it with. My dad wanted to attempt painting a shell the other day, so we're going to use this. This screen's a bit dirty, so we're going to go ahead and clean this real quick. You do not want to just spray the screen directly. That's bad. And this goes for all screens. Spray the towel, the paper towel in this instance, and then wipe it, and then it'll be good as new. That actually came out really nice. It's very clean. It's really much point to rotating this when it's all mangled. And here's my second biggest complaint with the SPs. So the way you put the hinges back in, I put that little air gap thing the same way of the charging ports, and you slide that in there very, very carefully, and it'll only go till about here. Make sure your SP is closed. Then do the same thing for the other side. Now put pressure, light pressure, but still a little bit of pressure on both sides, and flip the SP out. There. And everything should be in its place. It's not super complicated, but it's definitely annoying. And if you're thinking, Jake, why is this your second biggest complaint? Because I got lucky. If you're not super careful, and even if you are super careful, you can crack the hinges just putting them in. And not the hinges, the hinge posts. Now, was this cracked from putting a hinge in his post? Probably not. Probably some dumb kid being rough with their SP and it broke. But if you go back and watch my streams, so many times I've cracked these and I don't even realize it until later. These things are fragile, especially when they're 20-year-old pieces of plastic or even the brand new aftermarket ones. It's really, really frustrating. That's why I'm excited to do the slate from Mako. Get subscribed so you don't miss that, because those don't have hinges. But it does still have one thing that is my biggest complaint: the buttons. And I'm not talking about these. The plastics are fine. It's the switches. These things fail. They don't always work. And especially after so many times of being pressed in, they're eventually going to stop working. And it's been 20 years now. You may have seen my video where I replaced all of these switches with clickier buttons. That's because I couldn't find any switches like these. Since then, I have found what switches these actually are, and I will link them down below. If I forget, please remind me. But you can't just fix these like you would any other Game Boy. That's something that I learned very recently. I've always been told that if you use IPA, especially 99%, you're fine cleaning electronics with it, because it dries so fast, it doesn't matter. And I'm not here to call anybody out, because I learned all this from YouTube. I didn't go to school for it, so that's probably partially on me because I didn't get the correct training or whatever. I don't care. This is a hobby for me. A hobby that's turned into a profession. So for the past couple of years that I've been doing this, my videos, my streams, even off camera, I soak these boards in IPA to clean them because they're dirty. These things can be disgusting. And just the other day on stream, I had one of these boards that was slimy. Ew, there's like grease in here. I gotta clean this. Ew. Okay, so there's like something all over this guy. And some of you may be wondering why. Why can we not use IPA? I thought you could clean electronics with IPA. You can. You just don't want to soak it. When it comes to components like this that have multiple layers and they're airtight, meaning it's really hard for air to get in there, that also means if the liquid manages to squeeze in there, it's hard for the liquid to get dried, even if it's 99% isopropyl alcohol, which I guess now that I explain it in a dumbed down fashion, it makes total sense, right? I'm not here to call anybody out, but when I hear over and over and over again, it's drilled and ingrained into my brain that you can use IPA to clean electronics, I really haven't heard anybody tell me otherwise. I know for screens and stuff, I've messed up a couple screens just spraying the crap out of it with IPA. Because guess what? The liquid gets in there and it's really hard to dry because there's a lot of layers in that. But I just wish that other people said this more often, because this isn't just like some niche thing. This is my most requested model. Of all the Game Boys that I sell, people want this stupid thing the most, and it drives me crazy. And when I was just repeatedly damaging these buttons without even knowing it, it made me want to lose my freaking mind. I've even gone and investigated everything. I did research, I scoured through Reddit, I even experimented with things myself. I tried OEM buttons, I tried OEM membranes, I tried aftermarket membranes, I tried aftermarket buttons. I did all sorts of combinations with it. I did an aftermarket shell with an OEM button and aftermarket membranes. I did every combination on a motherboard that was having troubles with buttons. And none of the combinations worked. So I knew it wasn't that. Maybe you'll get a bad one every once in a while, but for the most part, I don't think it's these guys. My only conclusion is that these things are starting to wear out, and don't use IPA on them. Going back to that slimy boy, what do? I need to clean it. It's slimy. What I ended up doing was doing spot cleaning. I sprayed some IPA on a paper towel and I wiped it down. And even though all those components tore up this paper towel, it seemed to work a bit. Another thing you could probably do is spray a toothbrush and then use the toothbrush. So let's clean this motherboard. I'm still going to avoid hitting the buttons if I can. Okay. That should be clean, and hopefully no buttons are damaged. So now we can go in and put this all back together. Now I'm not screwing this all together. I'm just putting it together enough to test the buttons. Also, he removed the sticker after he painted, and I should have given him a silver battery cover, but I didn't. Okay, well, all the buttons worked. which is good. That's a good thing. But what I wanted was them to not work so I could show you live how I fix bad buttons. But since all the buttons work, I will flip to some other footage of me doing this really awful way of fixing the buttons, but it works, and I have like a 95% success rate with this. After finding the button that's giving you troubles, you're going to want to peel back the top layer of the switch. Only a little bit though. You can use toothbrush bristles or carefully use your nail. Then lightly spray some canned air in there to blast out any dirt or undried liquid. Please be very careful if you attempt this because you could easily ruin it, but it does work very well for me. And there you go. It's a perfectly working and slightly normal SP. But I do have one last thing planned for this video. I made my very own SP. Let me go grab it. So, it's been a couple days. I'm now all green. It's not St. Patrick's Day, that was a while ago. But I made the SP better. This was a giant pain in the butt, and I just gave up on filming it. Also, don't do this. There is a better solution. Well, I hope it's a better solution because I haven't tried it myself yet. In about a month, I don't want to promise anything, but I'm gonna try a similar and more refined mod that's like this. It's called the slab. Not the slate. Well, we're doing the slate, but not. They're different. They're two different things. This is an AGS 101 and a DMG. It's got some hot glue and 2 screws in the battery compartment with a very giant battery. Here's L and R. I think this is a better placement than having it up here like the analog pocket. This is just more natural to me. But this does play all Game Boy games. I even made it a power button, which I'll probably show off how I did that. There's a DS Lite speaker in here, and it's the quietest thing ever. But yes, this works. And if you're wondering what this little thing is up here, it's not an antenna. The brightness button. I honestly regret not putting it in the headphone jack hole. I don't know if I'm ever actually going to play this, but if you're upset that I destroyed an AGS 101 for this, I didn't. It's completely reversible. So yeah, we fixed the pretty broken, well, shell. I thought it was going to be more broken than it was, but turned out pretty nice. Yeah, also, I'm going to clean up the border. I'm going to get some vinyl to put across the edges so it looks a bit nicer, but I just needed to record this video as soon as possible. So some of you might be saying, well, even these buttons eventually will go bad. Yeah, they will, but it's a lot easier to just go in and clean these. You can take some IPA and a paper towel, a toothbrush, anything, and just clean it up. And 95% of the time, that's going to be it. It's going to be fixed. Either clean the contact or the button membrane, and it'll work. And if that doesn't work, if it's just too far gone, if there's too much corrosion and it's eating away the buttons, guess what? There's awesome people in this community who have made little flex PCBs that you can solder to the test points, or there's vias up in other spots on the board that you can solder to. And that's a lot simpler to just solder something on top of it than to remove all the switches on an SP that have 4 little tiny contact points on each button. I'm not an expert, but it's still hard for me to do it. I've tried to pull buttons from other SP boards and I failed. I tore the traces because it's not that easy, and desoldering is a lot harder than soldering. But not only that, you have to remove the switches and then put the new ones on. And with the flex PCBs, you just buy them, you stick them on top, you tape it down where it's lined up, and then you add 2 bits of solder and you're off to the races. I'm probably going to get a whole lot of comments on this video that are not so positive, but this is just my experience with the knowledge that I have. If I got anything wrong in this video, I'm sorry. Please kindly let me know. Kindly correct me in the comments. Again, I'm not an expert. Hopefully some of this made sense. I have no idea how this is going to go in the edit, but those are my opinions, those are my thoughts, and I hope this helps at least one person. And I'm going to continue to go crazy modding these stupid SPs. I tweeted a while back that I was done after this batch of SPs. I was going to be done making them. I'm still going to make them. it's just not going to be nearly as often as I do, because I need to keep this thing good. Thank you to these lovely people for supporting me with your wallets. If you want to join either of these lovely groups of people, you get exclusive behind the scenes updates, videos every month, and I even gave them early access to the shirts. So if that's stuff you're interested in, hit that join button down below. Other than that, I just say listen to Brittany. So like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later, guys. Okay. Hello and welcome to